Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, in a small village in the middle of a big forest, lived a sweet little girl named Little Red Riding Hood. She got her name from the red hooded cloak her grandmother had made for her. Little Red loved to visit her grandmother, who lived on the other side of the woods. One sunny morning, her mother packed a basket with freshly baked goodies and a jar of honey for her grandmother. "Be careful, my dear, I said. Stay on the path, and don't talk to strangers." Little Red promised to listen to her mother and set off on her journey with a skip in her step. She hummed a happy tune as she walked along the winding path through the magical forest. Little Red didn't know that a sneaky wolf was watching her from the shadows. The wolf wanted the delicious treats she was carrying and came up with a plan to trick her. "Good morning, Little Red Riding Hood," the wolf said, pretending to be friendly. "Where are you going with such a lovely basket?" "Oh, good morning, Mr. Wolf," Little Red replied politely. "I'm going to visit my grandmother. She's not feeling well, and I'm bringing her some goodies to make her feel better." The wolf's eyes sparkled with mischief. "That's very kind of you, but don't you think it would your grandmother from the meadow over there? I'm sure she would love them." Little Red thought it was a good idea and went into the meadow to pick some flowers. The wolf quickly ran to her grandmother's cottage, hoping to get there before her. When he arrived at the cottage, the wolf found the grandmother resting in bed. He quickly locked her in the closet and put on her nightcap and glasses, pretending to be her. Meanwhile, Little Red finished picking flowers and arrived at her grandmother's cottage. Knocking on the door, she called out, "Grandma, it's me, Little Red Riding Hood. I brought you some treats." The wolf replied in a disguised voice, "Come in, my dear. Double quotes. As Little Red entered the cottage, she noticed that her grandmother looked different. "Grandma, what big eyes you have," she said, feeling suspicious. "The better to see you with, my dear," the wolf replied, trying to sound like the grandmother. Little Red noticed other changes too. "Grandma, what big ears you have," she said. "The better to hear you with, my dear," the wolf replied, trying to hide his excitement. Finally, Little Red noticed the sharp teeth. "Grandma, what big teeth you have," she said, now sure that something was wrong. "The better to eat you with," the wolf shouted, throwing off the disguise and showing his true self. Terrified, Little Red ran to the door, but just as the wolf jumped towards her, a brave woodsman burst into the cottage. He had heard the noise and hurried to save Little Red and her grandmother. With a mighty swing of his axe, the woodsman scared the wolf away. Little Red and her grandmother were safe. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood learned an important lesson about being careful and never talking to strangers. She thanked the brave woodsman for saving her and promised to be more careful in the future. The end. Subscribe.